choice. I was very late in giving you guys information, so thank you so much for just picking that fantastic one for me. My name is Jason Harward. Before I really get into this, I feel like I gotta say I am definitely not a speaker. This is not what I do. This terrifies me. I don't generally like getting in front of people and talking. So if I stutter, go ahead and judge me. It'll be fine. What I do is e-commerce. I do e-commerce really well. I'm also a race car driver. So as we get into this, we can talk about different things. I think my normal go-to in a situation like this is going to be doing Q&A. Jeremiah actually asked me to talk a little bit about accountability first, so I'll do that first. But as I'm talking about it, I want you guys to be thinking, because if I'm up here, I promise you I can answer some questions in ways. Hey, I like it. You can keep going too. It's good. So think about questions that you may have for me. It could be about business, it could be about e-commerce, it could be about racing cars, it could be about life. I don't really care. But if you're going to ask a question, I do ask that you make it the most powerful question you can possibly think of, because I'm here for one reason today, and that's just to give you guys some value. That's the only reason I'm up here. Okay? Accountability. This is a huge thing for me. And the reason why it's so important, I believe, is because in order to make good decisions, you have to be able to account for things that happened. So when you look at accountability, I guess first, what does accountability mean? Anybody know? Take responsibility, kind of. Yeah, I think that accountability actually is just the ability to account for what happened. And most people look at this very low level. They look at it from I got in a car accident, that's what happened, right? Or I got a speeding ticket, that's what happened. Or I got a girl pregnant, that's what happened. Or I got something, doesn't matter. But to be able to look at what happened, what cascaded into an event, it's really important. So that's the first stage of being accountable, is just looking at something and accounting for what happened. Okay, so the thing that gets complex is as you try to make good decisions from that, or make new decisions from that, if you're only looking at it from a victim mentality, or you're looking at it just from the very low level of accounting for things that happened, as soon as you make it about somebody else, I got pulled over and it was the cop's fault, I got a ticket. As soon as you make it about, I got this girl pregnant and I was, you guys get how that goes. So as you start looking at these things, looking at how you were the person that got you into that position. And it's pretty complex. I don't think many people take time to stop and look at things from that perspective. But when you do, you can start making new choices. And when you can make new choices, you can make better choices, and you can completely change your life. So if I take that concept into business, I fail more frequently than anybody I know. But I'm able to take those and look at how I made those choices, and then I get to make new choices. So on top of making probably the most failed decisions or poor decisions, I also make the most phenomenal choices out of anybody that I know. And it's the ability to look at all of the pieces and how I impacted that. Does this make sense, guys? I'm just like up here rambling. Yes? Okay. So what ends up happening, there's actually 3 levels to it. So there's the first level, just accounting for what happened. The second level, a lot of people still know it, even though most people don't practice it, at least from my experience, which is, how did I contribute to this? There's actually a third level that I found. The third level that I found is pretty far up there. So if you get lost in this, it's okay. It's a complex situation or scenario. But as you start looking at how you contributed to a result, what you can then do is you can start looking into the future and saying, I know how this is going to play out. I've experienced this before, and if I wanted to get the result that I want, I know that I can't just do this the way that most people would do it. And at some point, you can make new choices and decisions that will lead you to success, not because it was just a fluke and or you thought you learned something, but you can actually decide in advance the outcome, and you can make sure you do things to get that outcome. Let me give you guys an example. Man, I got so many of them. I've got an employee. His name is Brandon. He actually doesn't work with me anymore. And we were doing this retreat in Lake Powell, and one of my business partners at the time drove our golf cart. I got a freaking really rad golf cart, driving down this huge dock, going to the houseboat where we were doing this event. Everybody was showing up the next day, and he ran it into the side of a post, completely destroyed this golf cart. And in my mind, I'm like, holy shit, this is what I wanted to have here. I spent like all this thing, and it really messed with me. And I look at that and it's like, okay, so can I account for what happened? I can. His name was Matt. Matt ran my golf cart into a post. That's account, like, true? Is that what happened? How did I contribute to that now? Could I make a different choice now? If I wanted to do something different, what could I do next time? This is a really simple one. Matt sure as shit's not driving my golf cart anymore, right? Like, that's really easy. Like, I let him do that. I didn't talk to him about, I know it's a long golf cart. Of course, if you take an Apex, I'm also a race car driver, obviously, but if you take that Apex too tight, of course you can hit the back. I know that. I should have told him that. I didn't do that, right? So I looked at this whole thing, and we went through this whole process, and at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm cartless. So I have the choice. Do I want to continue to be cartless, or do I want to solve this problem? And if I want to solve this problem, I know that I can't just rely on somebody else to solve it, because their ability to solve the problem is not going to be like my ability to solve it. So what we did is I called Brandon. I got like tiny bit of service. I called Brandon and I said, hey, Brandon, I need you to find a place that has a golf cart, whole rear piece of it, like the whole thing. And I need you to have them drive it to Lake Powell. And I need you to do it today. And they need to have it here tomorrow, and they need to install it, and they need to charge the battery, and it needs to be ready to go by tomorrow at noon. To which nobody, that's totally not something most people are going to consider is even possible, right? And so when I look at it from an accountable perspective, I can't just hand an individual piece of this or the whole concept to somebody and say, I expect the whole thing to happen. It's just unreasonable, it's not realistic, all those things. But as I look at it and I say, okay, if I'm going to account in advance for what I think is going to happen, everybody else's shit and what they have themselves into their little box is going to limit their ability to solve this problem. So I'm going to break down any piece that I can see that's going to stop somebody. And there's tons of pieces on this, guys. Like, this is super trivial. It's a golf cart. Who gives a shit, right? At the same time, you could do this in business. You could do this everywhere. Like, you can do this in your marriage. You can do it everywhere. But I broke stuff down. And I stopped making it other people's responsibility to solve those small problems. And I just said, I just need you to do this piece. It doesn't matter what it costs. It doesn't matter how much time it takes. It doesn't matter if you're flying somebody from New York to Arizona to drive something. I don't care, right? And so as I start taking off all these parameters which people build for themselves, and I start just executing and making people execute to my wishes and what I want, I take away the issues with later on looking back from an accountable standpoint and say, it didn't happen, because I brought all of it to me and made it all about me in advance, and I'm the one that held every piece of it accountable and made all the decisions. Does that make sense? It's a weird concept. I'm probably doing a terrible job explaining it. Just know that if you're, oh man, I still got 19 minutes. If you're, no. The more that you're able to take in and own it personally and make it about you, the more you can actually influence and impact the outcome. And if you want to get the outcome that you want, taking all that internal and making it about you, making it your issues, making it your successes, making it your decisions, you could literally do anything you want. You want to be the president of the United fucking States of America, you could do that. It all comes down to you owning you and you making decisions based on what you know you're capable of and what is possible, and getting outside of your own way. That's my version of accountability. All right, so before, all right. Also, no, this is just my version. Take it or leave it. I'm not preaching to the choir here. It has worked for me. I've done some pretty badass stuff. So before you guys ask questions, I'll tell you a little bit more. So I have 21 ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club awards, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically you build a funnel in software called ClickFunnels. If you do more than $1 million in revenue, you get a ClickFunnels award. I stopped submitting them 2 or maybe 3 years ago. So I would have way more if I continued that process. Got 3 10X awards, Inc. 500. I've done tons of e-commerce. I've spent, I don't know when the last time I added up. I've probably spent $90 million on Facebook alone. What else? I race cars. I race Lamborghinis. The way you do life is the way you do everything. It's pretty interesting. So I could probably drag some concepts from racing if needed to business and or to marriage and or to whatever. That's a little bit about me. What questions do you guys have? Like, if I could answer anything that would move your business, move your marriage, move your anything, what do you guys got? Fantastic. Jeremiah, do you have any questions for me? I need help up here.
Hey, Jason, I'm right here.
I can see you.
Hi. Question for you on e-commerce. So the world of drop shipping, and you don't need a brand behind you, just whatever, XYZ can sell whatever product. Do you still feel like that works in the e-commerce game, or what's the value behind, I'm gonna build a brand and a store with this, type of fulfillment behind it? Can you talk to that?
Absolutely. So that's a good question. I think you got to be clear on what it is that you want before you jump into that. So can you make money doing dropshipping? Absolutely. Is it going to get you to $100 million a year? I don't see the path. But again, it depends on what you want. And it's a great stepping stone to get there. I think that at some point, this goes back into the controlling the outcomes of stuff. If you're dropshipping, you're reliant on other people's fulfillment mechanisms. You're reliant on other people's ability to solve problems, to import product, to maintain products for you. And anytime you outsource or rely on somebody else, it really limits, for me, it has limited my ability to sell it effectively or efficiently. And so one of the big transitions we made was back in 2014, we started bringing in our own products and our own stuff so we could handle fulfillment and logistics. And when we did that, it was super big because I now had complete control over the entire process. And we were able to go from selling 20 or 30 items a day to selling thousands of items a day without hiccups, without problems. And we were able to control that whole situation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, Mr. Jason, got a question for you, Chief. I listened to your podcast with Jeremiah, and I thought it was good. You said you think that DTC is going to, like a Johnson & Johnson, you said it could take that model down. And when I was listening to that, I was just trying to digest exactly how you envisioned that.
You bet. So what he's referring to is, I believe the next wave of e-commerce is DTC, which means direct to consumer. An example of what's not, so take Amazon, for example, is not direct to consumer. Amazon themselves would be direct to consumer. They're the ones that maintain the relationship. So my version of direct to consumer is it's never been easier than right now to own a relationship with somebody you've never met and own a relationship, sell them products, sell them things, sell them whatever. And I think that right now the biggest wave that's coming that still people have not quite grasped how to use it yet is that ability to reach and touch people. I feel like influencers are a really, really easy way to see that, this whole influencer wave where you're able to capture a bunch of audience and a bunch of people and like own them and create this real relationship with them. I mean, if you want to sell somebody something and you have influence with them, like Mike, I could sell you something right now. You know who I am. I could sell you almost anything, right?
I bought a lot of your stuff, man.
You just bought my stuff. So it's the same thing, the same concept. Right now, you got huge places that have huge branding because that's what it used to be. It used to be like get on TV. It used to be all these things where you're big, broad, and what really mattered was brand positioning and big brand stuff. What chips away at that, though, is relationships. It's really hard for a company like you said, Johnson & Johnson, we're talking about soaps, baby soaps and stuff. It's hard for them to develop a relationship with consumers when they don't actually deal with the consumers. They deal with Walmart, they deal with Costco, they deal with Bed Bath & Beyond, they deal with all these places. All those places are who actually deal with the customers. So right now in this space, I believe that if you can start having relationships with individual people, with your business, you can absolutely chip away at these humongous businesses, and there's not much they can do to fight.
Yep, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got a question for you, Jason.
Lay it
Actually,
on
got a
me.
few questions. Bring up the chairs real quick. It's okay. I got a few questions for you, if that's cool.
Yeah, dude, come up here.
Okay, thanks. I got a few things for you. And also, actually, I don't know if you guys noticed this. Everyone just take the cameras, get on that. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Those are some rare-ass Jordans right there. I don't know if any of you guys are sneakerheads in here. I happen to put on some sneakers because my feet were killing me, right? So what I want to do right now real quick, selfishly, I have some questions for Jacob, or Jason.
He's saving me.
I want to ask you something. But, by the way, shout out to our sponsors in the back. Cooperative here in Utah sells these things like crazy. If you want the shoe hookup, Cooperative. As a matter of fact, the best question, so we're only going to open up for 3 questions to the crowd. I got a couple questions for you first, though. And the best question will get a free pair of shoes from Cooperative, and we'll send you guys back there. Deal? Say deal if you like that. No, okay, cool. All right, sweet. Okay, first question I have is everyone, especially because, I do a little e-commerce, but when it comes to running, how many of you have a question about like Facebook ads or selling things online and stuff like that, right? When it comes to like selling stuff like on an automated system or running ads for your product, you've done like hundreds of millions of dollar sales. Like you do $100 million sales a year. That's 9 figures a year. Give it up for that, by the way. 9 figures a year. Did we mention the fact that this dude sells more massage chairs than Costco? Did we mention that? He's just so humble. He sells more massage chairs than Costco. Give it up, right?
Thanks.
So how do you scale to 100 million a year? I'm asking that because I want to scale to 100 million a year. How do you automate your systems? How do you get Facebook ads or whatever ads, TikTok ads, I don't know what it is, rolling so your products are like selling on a massive basis?
It's a complex question. So there's 1,000 variables that get to that. And I think that I could tell you tactics and these small things to get you there, but I don't think that that's actually what will move any of your guys' businesses. I think that the biggest piece is that because getting clear on what you actually want to accomplish and then not letting anything get in the way of that. And that's been my methodology the whole way. And the truth is, I don't know what's going to impact your business better than you know what's going to impact your business. The difference may be that I'll make a decision faster or I'll move faster, but I know that if you're running the business, actively looking towards what you want to accomplish and not letting anything get in the way is going to be by far better than listening to me tell you to spend more money on Facebook. I mean, I can tell you tactics. The more you spend, the better off you'll be. Like if you can outspend your competitors, that's going to be awesome. Like if I can spend $1,000 to acquire a customer, but somebody else selling a massage chair can only spend $600, I'll kick the shit out of you all day long, and you won't even be able to afford to be in the space because I'll buy all of it. And eventually you'll get to those things where as long as you're actually moving towards what it is that you want, and there's like actual alignment there, nothing stops you. I mean, 100 mil is just a stepping stone. It's not. There's nothing magical. I'm no different than anybody else out here right now. Like, it literally doesn't matter. All it is taking the next step, and as opportunities arise, and as I start critically thinking and looking towards what other options are available, I just take those steps and keep moving. That's it.
The only difference is you crash Lamborghinis for fun. That's the difference between you and everybody. Okay, I want to open up for questions, and again, we're going to pick we're only going to open up for 3 more questions here, but I want to pick the best question, and that person's going to win a free pair of sneakers. So, who's up? All right, Braden, my man. Well, let's get him a microphone. Actually, take this one. I don't need it. I'm loud.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So you talk about the importance of owning the relationship with your client and kind of having that personal relationship with them. So how do you find the happy balance between having that personal relationship and scaling your business? Because in my mind, and it might just be because I'm immature in business, the bigger you get, the harder it is to be more personal. So how do you find the happy balance? What's the key to that? And is that why you have so many different approaches so you don't scale too large? Or can you keep scaling and keep that personal relationship?
So at that point, it becomes automation. At some point, if you're small and you're selling 10 things a day, that's pretty easy. I think that's manageable. You get to selling thousands and tens of thousands of items a day, you're totally right. And how do you do that effectively? It's a lot of trial and error, and different audiences require different amounts of touch and stimulation. And so one of our brands is the massage chair company. That's a very, very different beast. You're dealing with an older generation, an older crowd, generally speaking, and it's sending them a text message probably pisses them off more than getting them an email that they can look at on their own leisure, and or talking about pain points and talking about different things. And so I'm going to say it totally depends on your audience. It depends on who you're trying to build a relationship with. And this is where just going to the drawing board and getting results. And looking at the results and finding out if those results line up with what it is you think you're trying to accomplish. So again, it sounds really vague, but everything is different. You've got to approach it differently. So I think that turning it into a hard number or a very, very clearly definable number will let you make better, quicker decisions, and just keep trying until you figure out what that perfect communication is. And you're not going to please everybody. That's never the case, right? But the more that you can communicate to them effectively, the more that they are conscious and aware of who you are and what your cause is and what your purpose is and what you're trying to do, the more likely they're going to want to spend money with you, especially if it's a need that they still have.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
That's a good one. All right, next question.
I got another question for you, Jason.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I'll make mine quick then.
Okay.
One of the things you said, Jason, you said that you enjoy figuring out how something won't work before you almost more than how it will work. Just some clarity on that.
Sure, I'll do it real quick. So the problem with doing things that do work is it's hard to learn from them. Outside of it works. If something's working, that's a way harder thing to fuck up and try something different on because at some level it's working. And so I fell in the trap early on of things that worked. They weren't the most efficient. They weren't the best. There's significantly better options out there, but they worked. And I got stuck in those ones way longer and way easier. It's way easier to get stuck in those. And really, they can get in your way because why test something that's winning? When you're losing or something isn't working, it's very, very easy to go back to the drawing board and say, let's completely start from scratch. What do we need to do here? How can we shift and change it? So for me, it's way easier to learn from failures than it is to learn from successes.
Okay, we're actually going to cut it off right there. So these last three right here.
Okay, Jason. So to go back to what you said here at the start about accountability, that extreme ownership is what's going to really get you to the success you want. One thing I really believe in is more than the what, it's the who, getting the right people on your team. So in a leadership context, how do you maintain that like extreme accountability of this is exactly what needs to happen, while also maintaining the autonomy of people making their decisions to make that happen?
Oh, man, I got a good story for this, but I don't think Moses wants me to tell it. So here's the thing. I think that people are incredibly powerful, and I let them be incredibly powerful. What that means is that I let people run. So when I talk about my executives, when I talk about people that I have given lots of power inside of my business to do, I let them run because they're going to run way farther, way faster when they're passionate about what they're doing than if I'm holding their hand, making them do it my way individually, right? And so what that also opens up is that opens up some big failures potentially. Story with Mo over here. He runs my entire sales team, and we were doing lots of chairs at the time. We fell into a scam that was very complex. It was actually really hard to find, and it all crashed at once. Mo lost me about $200-something thousand in a very, very short window of time. And for me, it would be very, very simple for me to go to him and be like, Mo, what in the fuck, man? Like, you're out. But then I check in and it's like, listen, what I actually want is I want Mo to continue running. I want Mo to have the permission to run because he's still taking me so much farther than we could go than if I was dictating every decision that he was making. And so in that situation, we ended up having a party. I had a really badass cake made. I had some money on that was on fire. And we celebrated the next day. And it's like, dude, this was awesome. Like, guess what Mo's never going to do, though? He's not going to fall victim to that situation again. And I lost money, and that's fine because Mo's made me way more fucking money than he lost me. And he has the ability to run and continue running without worry that I'm going to have problems or that his job's on the line or anything like that. Like, that lesson it was incredible. And to see him afterwards now, like, I don't think I have anybody else in my office that runs harder and faster than Mo does. And it's all about permission and me being okay with it not being exactly what I expected or wanted.
Thank you. So like, give autonomy, let them fail fast, and fix it, keep moving.
Yep. And work with them on being accountable too, because they need to do that. If they're going to be victim to the situation, then they're not learning, and if they're not learning, then they're just going to cost you money to no avail.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Good job, Mo.
I should have kept my heels on. So I feel like we've had a lot of louder, confident speakers, and you have a quiet confidence, which I love. I would love to hear a habit or something that you feel like you're doing regularly that really helps you to kind of continue to succeed, and a habit that I think would be different than probably the other speakers that we have that are both so beneficial, but a habit that you feel like is really something that set you apart.
Thank you. It's a great question. If I was to say that if I have a superpower of anything, I am incredibly confident in my ability to solve problems, which means that I can't technically fail at anything. So while I may have these micro steps and mishaps, I'm confident you could put me in any situation, anywhere, and I will make the right decision and I will move the needle where it needs to be moved because I know that I can do that. So the way I get there, by the way, is looking at all the pieces and all the failures and all the steps along the way and knowing that I trust myself enough that I can do literally anything that I want to fucking do.
Love it. Thank you.
I just have a very simple question. That's it. So we know that you're a great entrepreneur, everything, and congrats to everything. The thing is, I want to know from a lot of successful entrepreneurs is, what makes you at peace?
That's a good one. I like that question.
You already have too many shoes.
You know what's interesting is when I think about peace, I don't think about stuff and things. I've got lots of stuff, I've got lots of things. When I think about peace, I think about the dark moments when I'm sitting by myself and knowing that nothing else matters. I can control outcomes all over the place, nothing else matters. But when I check in internally with myself, I know that I am enough. That's the most peace I could ever, that is the most peaceful time ever, is when I check in and I just know that I am enough. I'm enough for me, I'm enough for anybody else. And that is by far the most peaceful I can ever be, is in those moments.
Right on.
What was the best question?
Man, there were some good ones. I really like that question. It's a foreign concept. It's something I'm normally talking about. The lady, I don't know what her name was. Her question was fantastic, though.
So which one's winner?
Sorry.